1, 2, 3, go.
Screaming comes across the sky. Stop! Stop!
I'm Calum, tour guide in Berlin. Been living here now for like 2 years or so. 2.5 years maybe.
Okay.
And I'm into the music and the art scene in Berlin. That's one of the main reasons why I moved here. It was for the street art as well as the music scene and the club scene as well. So yeah, Berlin is one of the most famous places in the world for street art. A lot of the stuff that you see around the city varies from different techniques, different artists. You have pasty-ups, which is the artist will paint or draw the piece at home on paper, cut it out of the paper, and then come and put it up like a poster with glue and a brush, paintbrush. You also have stencils, where the artist will cut out the shapes on paper with a spray can and stencil it, just like dates back to the cavemen putting their hand up on a wall and then spraying over it. You also have murals, which is large-scale pieces. You sometimes see huge murals on the side of buildings. Various ones by artists like Victor Ashe of a giant astronaut on the side of the building. Also dates back to ancient Rome of people doing murals and tapestries on buildings. You also have this form of throw-up, which is basically like a tag, the normal person's tag, writing their name, the name of their crew, but usually in block, simple capitals. Quite a quick way of putting up your name or your tag. And also, of course, the most famous being tagging, where the artist will go around and write his name on a lot of different pieces to sometimes show that he's been there, and also it's a good way of getting artists' names out there. If you see a lot of tags everywhere, you'll see the artists' names, you get it stuck in your head, and then you see them at galleries or exhibitions later on. They can also be sometimes very attractive, detailed, intricate pieces. A lot of that comes from gang stuff from New York. The gangs would do their different tags marking the territory, whereas in Berlin it's not so much gang related, it's more expressing yourself, an artistic expression rather than marking your territory. So it's very interesting, diverse artists and techniques all over the city of Berlin that you can see. I suppose while the Berlin Wall was still up, there was some people that were tagging on the wall. Two famous guys, like this guy called Noir. He would actually sneak up to the Berlin Wall, do tags on the side of it while it was still up. And I think that the real creative movement boomed from once the wall had come down, there wasn't so much oppression or people weren't so dumbed down in their creative spirit. So once the wall had come down, suddenly people were allowed to express their art a bit more, and it just like boomed throughout the city. So maybe the oppression of the Berlin Wall just meant that once that disappeared, with that freedom and release, that's where the artistic movement really came out. You know, because through certain degrees of kind of degradation or struggle, it's when people start getting a creative mind and start imagining things. You know, artists usually a lot of artists express themselves through sadness, and maybe this oppression of the wall brought that out of them, and then that's when it boomed after the wall had come down. So maybe the Berlin Wall is maybe a bit of an influence in the street art world. So yeah, there's a famous crew, a graffiti crew, so a group of people in Berlin. They're called the One Up Crew. It stands for One Unified Power, and their style of tag is, rather than maybe spending ages making a really detailed and beautiful tag, it's going onto the top of rooftops, breaking onto the rooftops, getting a stick with a roller on the end of it, and roller down the side of it. It's a dangerous technique, however, people have fallen off and died. Another famous guy is this guy called Just. He's just one guy, and he has got tags all over the city of Berlin, on the rooftops, on the slants of roofs, but also sometimes the One Up Crew will tag trains. They'll actually wait for the train to turn up during the day on the U-Bahn station, pull the emergency stop of the train, so it takes about 5 minutes before it gets moving again, and then spray a whole carriage. Big smiley face on the side of the carriage with One Up next to it. So they're quite an extreme crew, but it is a large group of them in the city. So if you come to Berlin, keep an eye on the rooftops, because I'm sure you'll see some One Ups dotted all over the shop. Maybe has hit a certain peak. The city, even 6-10 years ago, in certain areas was still the artist quarters, still like cheaper, more slum-like city. Of course, over the years, with businesses, investors, gentrification happening, these artistic quarters are moving around the city, spreading out of the city. So I think maybe to a certain degree Berlin has hit a peak of its kind of subculture and underground lifestyle. But that peak of that style doesn't mean that there will be new artistic movements and new people arriving in the city, bringing their own input to it. So it's hard to say that Berlin is going to die, or die in that movement, or being famous for being the artistic place. Maybe it's just going to change. Maybe it's going to be new types coming up, new artists, a new change in the city. But I think it will continue, but maybe in different paths. Not the same way that it's been going for the last 10 years, 20 years.